WGBY is presenting the world premiere of Frederick Law Olmsted, Designing America. This new one-hour documentary, produced by Hott and Diane Garey of Florentine Films, Hott Productions, and WNED TV, chronicles the career and lasting influence of America's premier landscape architect, who designed New York Central Park, Boston's Emerald Necklace, and many town commons and campuses right here in the Pioneer Valley as well too. And Larry is joining me today. Thank you so much. And that's so exciting to hear that this guy who is world renowned for his design did stuff right here in the Pioneer Valley.
It's not a surprise that he did stuff here because he's actually from here. He was born in Hartford and he spent his childhood coming up the river. His father used to take him on these silent rides so he would understand the natural scenery. And when he was already an established landscape architect, he was hired to redo Smith College campus, the Mount Holyoke campus, the Amherst campus, the University of Massachusetts. City of Springfield hired him to do Forest Park. His firm and then his sons did most of the parks in Holyoke. And then there are parks around here like Look Park in Northampton that look like an Olmsted Park, even though they're not, because Olmsted was so influential that people just wanted to copy everything he did.
And they say imitation is a serious form of flattery, so it looks like people were taking after him. So you've been doing documentaries for years. What drew you to Olmsted?
Olmsted is quite a character. I kept stumbling over him. My first film was about the Boston water supply and the Quabbin Reservoir, and I found out that Olmsted had designed the Emerald Necklace in Boston and actually redesigned the Back Bay, and it was one of the first major environmental projects in the world. And I thought, this is a character I'd like to explore, but other films got in the way. And then a few years ago, a friend approached me and said, have you considered Olmsted? I said, well, yeah, I've been considering him for 30 years. I was working with the Buffalo PBS station, and I knew that Olmsted had designed the Buffalo Park system. And I said, have you considered Olmsted? And they said, yeah, we've been thinking about him for 30 years. So let's get together and do this film. And I didn't know Olmsted's background. I didn't know that Olmsted was almost a ne'er-do-well in his youth. He just kept screwing up. He was a scientific, what he called a scientific farmer. He wanted to do this kind of progressive farming, but he never made a dime from it. And then he went to Europe. He wanted to observe parks and farming there. And then he came home and he went out to China on a boat and nearly died of scurvy. And then he helped found The Nation magazine, and he was a writer. But every magazine he founded went belly up. So he was always out of money.
And it seems that him being drawn to Central Park has its own little unique twist to it too. He wasn't even...
It was just an accident. Because of his social connections, he knew the transcendentalists, Emerson and Thoreau, and he knew the right crowd in New York. And somebody approached him and said, well, you have a background in drainage on your farms. Perhaps you'd like the job of superintendent clearing the land for Central Park. And he hadn't even really known anything about Central Park, but he needed a job. His father was tired of giving him money. So he took this job. At the same time, the Central Park commissioners didn't like the plan that they had, and they decided to do a competition. And there was an architect named Calvert Vaux in the city who had heard of Olmsted and said, I need somebody who understands, who knows the lay of the land. You know the land, I know how to draw, let's submit a plan. There were 33 plans, and they won. And that's how Olmsted got involved with Central Park.
So what was set in Olmsted Park apart from any other park out there?
You know, when you see an Olmsted Park, you know it's an Olmsted Park. It's Olmstedian. Well, what makes an Olmsted Park Olmstedian? I've been thinking about this for a while. When you go into an Olmsted Park, like Central Park is a great example. It has 10 different areas. It's got the ramble and it's got the sheep meadow and it's got the ravine. And wherever you go is a surprise. You come out of the forest and you come upon a meadow. Or you walk down a winding lane, you don't know where it's going to go, and then it opens up into something that's much bigger than you thought. Or you walk into an area and it's a lot smaller than you thought. And you see that repeated in all of Olmsted parks. So around here, if you're walking down a path in a park and it curves and keeps curving, it's kind of serpentine and then goes into a copse and then comes out into a meadow, that's Olmstedian. But the real thing that makes an Olmsted Park is that it's based on the natural design of the area, the lay of the land. Yet, he manipulates the land. He changes it. He's not afraid to make it the scene he wants, the perfect frame he wants. But still, he never changes it so much that it's not recognizable.
And it seems that that was a strong suit of his, conservation and wildlife preservation.
Well, he actually helped start the preservation movement in the United States. He helps get Niagara Falls turned into a state park. He campaigns for years and years, and then gets the commission, by the way, to design the Niagara Falls reservation. But he's also out in Yosemite in the 1860s and heads a commission, and he's one of the first people to say this land needs to be set aside. So in a way, he's credited with the beginning of the conservation and preservation movement.
What was something that kind of stuck out to you or intrigued you or maybe surprised you the most when you were doing this documentary on him?
Olmsted was not the happiest person. And it's surprising how productive he was. He had these depressions where, at one point, he was in a darkened room for 3 months. He didn't do well with women. And when his brother died, he married his brother's widow almost right away and adopted her kids and had a couple of kids of his own. But life was not easy for Olmsted. At the same time, he must have been a great salesperson because he kept getting commissions. But he also did not deal with authority very well. He got fired many times from Central Park. Then they brought him back. At one point he left and he went and founded the Sanitary Commission during the Civil War. He couldn't stand his bosses and he left and went out west for a while. So how did somebody who had such a troubled mind and so much trouble with authority do in his lifetime 3,000 projects? And he didn't even call himself a landscape architect until the 1860s when he was 42 years old. He had left a lasting legacy. His son founds the Landscape Architecture School at Harvard, and his firm goes on up until 1979. All told, there were 6,000 projects done by Olmsted and his progeny.
What do you think his legacy is? What has he left behind?
Well, in Massachusetts, for example, if you went out to Namkeg, which is out in Stockbridge, which was designed by Fletcher Steele, here's a Trustees of Reservation site that was done in the style of Olmsted, looking at the natural land around it. All over the country, there are areas where landscape architects adopted Olmsted's style. So if you're in Louisville, Buffalo, Chicago, where Olmsted worked, they then took those parks and went beyond them. So if, let's say, he designed 3 parks or 6 parks in one city, there might now be 18 or 20 parks that look like Olmsted parks. His influence is tremendous. We now understand and appreciate the way a park should look because of what Olmsted did.
Very interesting. Can't wait for the premiere. Larry Hott, thank you.
Thank you.